The Firekeeper's Son. The Firekeeper's Son by Linda Sue Park, illustrated by Julie Downing. To Julie, sister and friend, LSP. To Ashley, Dwight, Martha, Mira, and Susan. My guides are art and life. JD. We live in an important village, Sang-hee's father said. Sang-hee looked around. A few huts made of wood and mud, a few cows, a few chickens, a few dogs. It didn't look like an important village. Our part of Korea is like a dragon with many humps. His father said the humps are like mountains. The first hump facing the sea, the last hump facing the king's palace. Our mountain is the first hump. Our fire is the first fire. Every morning as Sang-hee's father climbed to the top of the mountain carrying a pair of tongs and a little brass pot filled with little coals to start a fire. A fire so big that could be seen in the next mountain. Whether another firekeeper saw it and it was fire, it was big enough to be seen a few mountain. Where a firekeeper saw it, it was lit his father, and on and on. A fire in every hump or dragon's back, all the way to the last one, the hump that could be seen from the palace walls. When the king saw the fire on the last mountain, he knew that all that was well in his land. When trouble comes to our land, it almost always comes from the sea. Sang-hee's father explained, "If I ever see enemy ships, I will not light our fire, and the next firekeeper will not light his fire," on and on, until the king sees only darkness in the last hump. He will know that trouble has come to our land, and he will send soldiers to fight the enemy. We are fortunate, Sang-hee's father said. In your time, and my time, and your grandfather's time, the fire has always been lit. It is good to live in a time of peace. It's good that soldiers have never become. Soldiers, tall, brave soldiers, with shiny swords. Sang-hee wished he could see soldiers just once. Evening. Sang-hee showed the chickens into the coop. He glanced up the mountain looking for the fire. No fire. His father was a little late. Sang-hee fetched water in the river. He poured the water into the barrel and then glanced up the mountain again. No fire. Sang-hee looked at the sea, and the setting sun made the path of water. Could those be ships popping up in the waves? No, just a flock of seagulls. No enemies, no trouble, but still no fire. Sang-hee called his mother, pointing to the mountain. She looked, then turned and stared at the sea. Sang-hee, you must run to see what has happened. She said, something is wrong. There is no trouble from the sea. The fire must be lit. Sang-hee ran up the mountain path. He knew the path like a friend. But tonight it was not all love-friendly. Stones tripped him. Branches wrenched out the lash of the face. He ran until he could run no more. A strange noise, a groaning sound, a groan from bushes by the path. Father, Sang-hee, I am all right, but I fell and hurt my ankle, and I fear it is broken. I cannot walk. You must hurry. The light of the fire. Sang-hee grabbed the brass spot, ran again. The fire. He ran to light the fire. His feet pounded out a song path. Light the fire, light the fire, light the fire. At last, Sang-hee reached the top of the mountain. There was a brush pile ready to be lit. He knew, trembling from his run. He picked up one coal with the tongs and dropped it. It broke into 100 red jewels that glowed for a moment, then died. A second coal, gleaming bright as a soldier's sword. If there is no fire, the soldiers will come. They will be angry when they find no enemies here. But maybe they will be angry. Maybe the soldiers will become glad for it, come visit the sea. I will show them the beach. They will catch the best fish. They will find the prettiest shells. and it might teach him about sword fighting. Sang-hee wished he could see soldiers, just once. I could say I dropped the pot and spilled the coals that lit them was an accident. He thought a second coal burned out. It was the brass pot. Only one coal left. Only one coal, glowing fiercely, almost as if we were talking. They were saying, light the fire, light the fire. At time of peace, in his father's voice. Sang-hee carefully picked up the last coal and put it on the tinder at the bottom of the brush pile. It smoked smoldering. For the moment, it looked like it would go out. Then the tongue of flame liquored the tinder, and it ate the tinder, reached gleaming the brush. Soon the whole pile was aflame. Sang-hee watched the flames, but he saw a great battle. Soldiers, their shiny swords clashing. After the fire died out, Sang-hee waited until the ashes cooled, then swept them aside. He built a new pile of brush for the next night. As his father had always done, his grandfather before him, the Sang-hee walked back and down the path. His father was waiting. Did it burn well, my son? Yes, father. He put an arm around the father's waist. His father hobbled as he walked and leaned on the Sang-hee's shoulder. When I was a boy, I too wished the soldiers would come. She drew the quick breath, and now did the father know. He did not forget, my son, they were a part of the king's guard, just as soldiers are. We are our very first part. Sang-hee's father smiled. The village will be pleased to hear that another trustworthy Firekeeper has been born to our family. Suddenly, Sang-hee was glad he had lit the fire. The gladness felt a warm, glowing glow. And until his father's ankle healed, there was Sang-hee who climbed the mountain every evening at sunset carrying the brass pot full of coals. Coals to start a fire. The fire could be seen from the next mountain. To tell another Firekeeper to light his fire, and on, until the king himself knew that was all in the land. Author's note: Sang-hee and his family are fictional, but the bonfires were real. The bonfire signal used in the career was very complicated. I have simplified in the telling of the story, which is set in the early 1800s. South Mountain, the last mountain facing the king's palace, actually had 4 bonfires. Each fire had 2 halves, the left and the right. As seen from the palace, and together from 8 halves representing the country's 8 provinces, additional fires could be lit and accommodated further information. So the court would know not only which province was facing the danger, but also outside forces and how well armed they were. My sources do not indicate when the lighting of the bonfires began. They were beginning as recently as the late 19th century, when the practice was noted by the British traveler Percival Aloud, his book chosen, The Land of the Morning Calm, published in 1985.